Welcome back to Hardball. Americans' opinions have been shifting on gay marriage over the past several years. A new poll out by Gallup has reached a milestone. For the first time ever in their polling, more than half of Americans support legalizing gay marriage. The 53% majority is 9 points higher than when Gallup polled on this issue just last year. That's almost a reversal. So who are the Americans who are changing their minds on this issue? And what role could this play in 2012? David Smith is a vice president at the Human Rights Campaign, and Clarke Cooper is the executive director of the Log Cabin Republicans. Men, thanks for being here. It seems to be a generational kind of a divide, Clarke, does it not?
It is, and we've seen that in the Republican Party with polling. In fact, anecdotally, just last Congress, when we did lobbying with Republican offices, with staffers and members on repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the majority of staff were for repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which did not match up with their members of Congress. So I would say 95% of the Hill staffers we lobbied said, hey, I'm with you. You just helped me convince my boss to vote for repeal on Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We've seen this with young Republicans, college Republicans, essentially the younger voters. This is 18 to 34 demographic we're talking about.
David, take a look at the data. The difference among age groups really staggering on this issue. 7 in 10 Americans 18 to 24 support legalizing gay marriage, while less than 4 in 10 do at age 55 and up.
Yes, and younger people are voting in much larger numbers, and the actual more striking number is the number of independents that support marriage equality. That is very encouraging for the 2012 elections, and should be a very warning shot to the Republican field that this issue is not to be played with politically.
Well, but Clarke, it's interesting because when you look at the breakdown among the parties, the difference is striking, as David suggests. The D's and the I's have seen an increase in support, but the Republicans are holding firm at 28% favoring legalizing gay marriage, or I could say only 28%. I wonder whether it means that this issue will continue to be used as an issue for voter turnout campaigns.
Well, hopefully not in the wrong way. And what I mean by that is, as you look at the numbers, and there's different stratas. ABC Washington Post put out that 31% of Republicans supported same-sex marriage or marriage equality. And if you actually look at civil unions, Republicans, the numbers increased to about 50%. And so that's where part of the dialogue is in the conservative community is most Republicans do support some sort of legal recognition. The issue where several fellow conservatives and some folks that I worked with in the Bush administration were wrapped up on was the word marriage. And so it's about educating fellow conservatives and Republicans that marriage is about full equality in the law. It's a courthouse process, and not to get hung up on the religious process. These
but isn't, and I've said, David, that the most conservative of views on this issue is to be supportive of same-sex relations, along the line of, that's your thing, I'll do my thing, it's none of my business, and what goes on in my bedroom is none of your business.
Hey, Michael, there's some green shoots in the Republican Party on the issue of marriage equality. You have Ken Mehlman, the former RNC chairman, in support, actually very active raising money for marriage equality in New York State. You have John McCain's campaign manager, Steve Schmidt, in support of marriage equality. You have the Cheney family. There is a lot of encouragement in terms of within the Republican Party for support. Even though the House Republican leadership, which tends to be in the far right, is defending the Defense of Marriage Act in a very vociferous way, there is encouragement, and we should really cling to the positive and encourage more Republicans to be supportive, because clearly the American people are siding on the side of fairness, or coming on the side of fairness. And this is not the only poll that shows this. As Clarke alluded to, this is the 4th national poll in just a few months that shows the vast majority of Americans, or over 50%, support marriage equality, and this is a very positive development. It's
Clarke,
a tipping point.
Clarke, I'm reading, I actually have just finished reading Janie Scott's biography of the president's mother. President's mother, as everyone knows the story, a white woman with Kansan roots who marries truly an African American. And what struck me in the book, and when I interviewed the former New York Times reporter, is the fact that when that marriage took place, somewhere 59, maybe 1960, the interracial marriages were still prohibited in about half the states in the country. You look at that now and you say, my God, that was only 59 or 60 or 61. My question is, in our lifetime, because the three of us look like we're relatively of the same age, are we going to reach a point where we look back and we say, that was illegal in the course of our lifetime, or is it a next generation where this is all going to come to fruition?
No, we will. We will see this. And it's interesting you mentioned that. Ted Olson, who, of course, is a huge advocate, a huge conservative advocate for marriage equality, he and David Boyce, who actually represent the Perry versus Schwarzenegger, which is now Perry versus Brown case in California. Ted just referenced that this week about this is Loving versus Virginia. This was the case that was brought forward regarding interracial marriage, or that it was illegal in many states at the time. And in fact, marriage certificates were created by the state in many states to actually prevent or preclude interracial marriage. So again, we shouldn't use the state to impede upon people's right to love each other and be with each other. And it's actually anti-federalist to have a federal statute to be an incursion upon states' rights and on individual liberties.
David Smith and Clarke Cooper, many thanks for being on Hardball. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.